I wanted to do just a quick look at the 2022 accountability system, and then anybody who wants me to go more in depth, I can do that as well. Okay, there is a 2022 accountability quick look on the Lead Forward website that you can go to the website and you can download that for your easy reference. The 2022 accountability system is pretty much the same as the 2019 system with very small changes. For example, one of the changes is the fact that they are only going to let campuses earn an A, B, or C, that we will not have any campuses labeled D or F. Okay. But they will still show the scale score. You will just not receive the letter grade. And that's important if you're worried about 5 consecutive years of an unacceptable performance, but we don't have any of those campuses in our district. Okay, remember that in 2019 as well as in 2022 that there are 3 domains but 4 areas. Domain 1 is student achievement, domain 2 is school progress, domain 2A under school progress is academic growth, domain 2B under school progress is relative performance, and domain 3 is closing the gaps. 70% of our score comes from the best of domain 1 or domain 2A or domain 2B, whichever is the better. And then 30% comes from domain 3, the closing the gaps. Okay. Now, even though we won't have anything labeled D or F, we will still have the scaled score. And those scale scores play a part in what a district can earn. So if we have any campus that scores less than a 70, aka an F, then the district cannot score higher than an 89 or a B. Okay. There's another force failure rule. The highest overall scale score a district or campus can earn is a 59 if the district or campus is rated in all 4 areas and 3 out of the 4 ratings have a scale score of less than 60. Not applicable if the domain 1 scale score is greater than or equal to a 60. Okay. All right. The best part about going back to the 2019 type system is the fact that we have the return of growth. And growth is something that we really want to make sure that we strive for this year. Because remember, accountability in 2 words is performance, which is how the student did on this year's test or measure, versus growth, which is that comparison between last year and this year. And we don't want any students going backwards. So we want to make sure the students are doing as well this year as they did last year. Okay. Because when we look at this is what I was talking about earlier. Whichever one of these, performance, the academic growth, or the 2B, when we compare it to those with the same economically disadvantaged percent, whichever of these are the best, that takes care of 70% of our rating. And then domain 3 takes care of the 30%. In the high school, it's a little bit different. Okay. Our accountability system is a strength based system, which is really good. So we need to remember that growth matters, because if we just think about growth overall for elementary, middle, and junior high, that can be 85% of your score. For high schools, that can be 70% of your score. So if 100% of your students make growth, they score as well this year as they did last year or better. And that gives you an automatic 85 in elementary, middle, and junior high school. And in the high school, that gives you a 70, because in high school, you have that CCMR and graduation that has to get factored in as well. Okay. So we can go back and we can look at some of the pieces on the accountability quick look to be able to go into this in detail. And that's where the CCMR is explained in that accountability quick look. The biggest change is that TSIA 2 is a part of CCMR. Okay. The closing the gaps, oops, that went pretty quick. The closing the gaps is made up of 14 separate possible student groups, and it looks at academic achievement. That's that meets or masters. Looks at academic growth. It looks at the federal graduation rate for the high school. It looks at English language proficiency, which is our TELPAS. It looks at student star success, which is domain one, and then it looks for at CCMR for the high school as well. Okay, closing the gaps is something that we really need to look at, and that is making sure that our students get to those targets. And closing the gaps is something that we need to look at because that plays so many different roles in what we look at for our accountability system. And if you would like to go into closing the gaps a little bit closer, let me know and we will schedule some time together. Okay, distinctions are back this year. Yay! So our campuses can earn distinctions, and we have the same distinctions in 2022 as we did in 2019. All right, that was a very, very quick overview just to remind you of the components that we are using in our accountability system. Think about what we did in 2019, all those conversations that we had, and that is the same that we need to have for 2022. I'll be more than happy to do a Zoom, do a PowerPoint, do a presentation for your campus, for your leadership team. This is just a very quick overview to remind you of the different parts of our accountability system.